All right, guys, today we are talking a little bit about the Xbox Live Gold situation. This is something that has happened over the past 24 hours, and it is very interesting, and it has generated a lot of attention. And so I just want to take some time here to talk about it and give my thoughts on it. And I also want to thank everyone for your absolutely overwhelming support on the video I put out yesterday. As I said, I try not to get too personal on the channel too often. I just kind of want to keep it gaming as much as I can, but you guys really came out in force, and the uplifting that you brought to me and my family is nothing short of incredible. So I sincerely thank you guys for that. And I'm sure you're wondering, why I'm back at content creation so soon. Well, just to let you know very quickly, it's because it helps me. It helps my family. Doing this on my channel helps my family a lot. And so I'm also in a situation where I am limited in how much I can actually be at the hospital due to current worldly circumstances. I'm sure you guys understand. So this is something that helps me mentally. It helps me kind of distract myself a little bit and gives me a little bit of purpose, something to do. And as I said, it helps me and my family a lot. So with that being said, let's go over this situation because I am a little bit surprised that a lot of people are, I don't want to say they are, making Xbox sound better than they actually are, because I think this is ultimately very good news. I think what Xbox is doing here is great. It's just the thing that's a little bit weird is the way it went down. So I'm sure most of you are aware, but yesterday at some point randomly, Xbox put out a blog post over on the Xbox Wire, and it was written up by the Xbox Live Gold team, where they were essentially announcing that they are increasing the pricing scheme for Xbox Live Gold. And this just came out of nowhere. They did not make it clear that they were adding any type of extra value to justify the sudden price increase. But the price increase was particularly egregious because it's not like it was increasing just a little bit. No, what they were doing is basically doubling the price for Xbox Live Gold. And this obviously did not sit well with pretty much anybody. I don't know how it could. They essentially removed the 12-month membership cards, and they were going to offer 6-month membership cards for $60. So basically $10 per month. And if you do the math, that equates to about $120 a year, effectively doubling it, which is just crazy. They also increased the price of the 3-month and the 1-month. So the 3-month price increase was up to $30 and the 1-month was up to, I think, $11. But either way, when you add it all up, it basically just comes to about $120 a year for Xbox Live. And this really upset the entire gaming community, understandably so. Even some of the most hardcore Xbox fans were like, what are you doing? Because it really just kind of came off as like, yeah, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I think to me, the thing that was most shocking about it when we heard the announcement was the fact that it just completely goes against everything that Xbox is supposed to represent, everything that whole team over there at Xbox has continuously tried to push, which is not a bad thing, but this idea that it's going to be more accessible, that they want everybody to be part of it. They want to make it easier for people to get into the Xbox ecosystem. This literally just completely flies in the face of that. And it just really made you raise your eyebrow and think like, what? I won't lie to you guys. When I was scrolling through Twitter yesterday and I came across this, I legitimately didn't think it was real. I thought it was some type of bad rumor or just something that was miscommunicated. I legitimately did not think this was real until I started looking into it a little bit more and seeing more people talk about it. And then I was like, oh, wow, they actually did this. And as somebody who does subscribe to Xbox Live, at that point, I was legitimately considering, like, okay, I'm not resubscribing. I'm going to maybe start buying 1 month of Xbox Live randomly at certain times whenever I feel I'm actually going to use their servers. But I'm definitely not going to remain subscribed because there's a massive difference between paying $60 a year for Xbox Live versus $120 a year. Absolutely insane. However, the good news is they did immediately, almost immediately, reverse this, which was kind of strange because it makes you realize that one of two things is going on here. One is this was a PR stunt this entire time in order to make Xbox look like they're the good guys that are listening to the community and they're always going to listen to the community and immediately reverse any mess ups that they make. It's kind of an effective strategy if that's in fact what they did here. There are a few things here that lead me to believe that is in fact what happened, and I'll explain why. But the other scenario is they really did just actually try to see if they could get away with this and immediately became aware of the fact that they're not going to be able to get away with this. Another thing that is worth pointing out, something else that didn't make any sense, is multiple times Microsoft has acknowledged, the fact that people are financially struggling right now due to, again, worldly circumstances. And it's like if you were ever going to do something like this is literally the worst possible timing. The reason why I say there are a couple of things here that make it obvious that this was some type of PR stunt, because again, they did reverse it. And not only did they reverse it and announce that, we're not increasing the pricing of Xbox Live Gold, the pricing is going to stay the same across the board. They also announced that they're unlocking free-to-play games. And this was another thing that really upset a lot of people because the way it used to be is if you wanted to play free-to-play games such as Apex or Warzone or any of those titles, you did have to be subscribed to Xbox Live Gold, to whereas on PlayStation or PC, you did not. So people were very upset about that. We know Halo Infinite is going to be free to play, at least the multiplayer. So everybody was like, so you're telling me I have to pay $120 a year to access this free to play multiplayer? It's not free to play at that point. You're paying $120 a year to play it, right? Which is double the price of the game, a full price game. But, they did announce that they're unlocking the free to play games, which is great. And I think that's awesome. And I'm really happy to see that Xbox reversed this because I was going to make a different video. Let me tell you, when I covered this, I was going to just literally go in on them because I just thought that this was insane. If they decided to keep that pricing structure, that's just bad for everybody, even PlayStation and Nintendo gamers, because at that point, PlayStation and Nintendo would be like, well, Microsoft increased their price, so we're going to increase ours as well. So that's why I'm really happy to see that they reversed this. But the thing that's a little bit suspicious to me is just how quickly they not only reversed this, but how quickly they just also decided simultaneously, and we're actually going to unlock free-to-play games, right? Like, to me, that comes off as something that was calculated and planned ahead of time. It might not have been, but this is just such a strange situation where I find it very difficult to believe that multiple people over at Team Xbox, the people who were coming up with this pricing scheme, you have to understand something like this. It's not like one person just says, okay, this is what we're doing, flip the switch. No, that's not how it works. They have to go through multiple people to get approval. And the fact that this pricing scheme, like, they want me to believe that multiple people, including Phil Spencer, looked at this, did the math, and said, yeah, let's do it. I just don't believe that. I mean, I could be wrong. We are talking about a corporation where their goal is to make as much money as they can for the bottom line. But that to me just sounds so ridiculous and frankly concerning. How out of touch do you have to be, especially when you're flaunting Game Pass and it's the best deal in gaming, right? How out of touch do you actually have to be to greenlight something like this? It makes me think about the whole Halo Infinite demo situation, where one of the questions I was left with when we saw that and we saw the backlash was, who approved this? Like, who looked at this and said, this is definitely good enough? That's what leads me to believe, And that was certainly not a PR stunt, let me tell you that, with the whole Halo Infinite demo situation. That's what leads me to believe that there is a little bit of concern here. It is nice though that if that is in fact the situation where they're just so dense and so out of touch and there's just a bunch of yes people there just saying yes to everything, including Phil Spencer for some reason, it is good to see that they did reverse this. But I just, again, like, to me, this comes off as a PR stunt because, I mean, it makes them look pretty good, right? At the end of the day, this is ultimately a win for Xbox because there may be some people left saying, well, they tried to double the price. They tried to increase it. But the overwhelming majority of people are going to be saying, thank you. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for answering us. And thank you for doing the right thing. When in reality, this may have been their intent the whole time. So if they were to have just announced this by itself, hey, Xbox Live Gold pricing is not changing, nobody would have cared because it would have been like, okay. People would have definitely been happy at the announcement that free-to-play games are getting unlocked, but it just wouldn't have that same enthusiasm behind it. You see what I'm saying? So if you have a calculated PR stunt, well, let's make people think we're going to double the price. Let's make them think we're just really out of touch. And then just like that, we're going to answer the community, we're going to respond to the backlash, and we're going to do the right thing. It's maybe a little bit conspiratorial, but again, I don't think anybody can look at this situation and kind of scratch their head a little bit or raise their eyebrow and think, this is a little bit sus, right? But it's good nonetheless. So, what I originally thought was going to be a rant video, I thought at some point I was going to cover this and rant about it because, I do have a lot going on right now, but this is just something that I'm like, you got to be kidding me, Microsoft. Like, you got to be kidding me. And I held off on it, obviously, and I'm glad that I don't have to make that video because that would not have just been bad for Xbox. That was just bad for the gaming industry in general, right? So I am really happy to see that it was either a hoax, like, look, we got you, we're not actually doing it, or they immediately realized, like, oh, like, we did this, and we immediately regret it, and they just reversed course. But either way, it's good news all around. Pricing isn't changing for Xbox Live. I mean, I'm of the mindset that Xbox Live and PlayStation Plus shouldn't exist when it comes to accessing multiplayer games. We should just be able to play multiplayer, but that's not going to change. So I'm happy to see that the pricing is staying the same, and I am very happy to see that they did the right thing and they are unlocking free-to-play games. That's the way it should have been. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. Again, thank you so much for your continued support. Make sure you hit the like button on the video, hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, hit the notification bell, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.